told me if I worked the night shift, I had to follow every rule exactly. I didn't believe them until the cameras stopped responding. I had never worked a night shift before, but I needed money. The office downtown promised easy security work, mostly monitoring cameras, and the pay was good. I walked into the building that first night, bright lights glaring, and a manager waiting with a laminated sheet of rules. "This is very important," he said, sliding it across the counter. "Follow every rule. Do not skip a single one, especially rule number 3. I barely looked at it. Rules were rules. I've been a security guard before. How bad could a quiet office building be at night? I was wrong. The rules themselves were simple. Rule number 1, check every camera feed at least once an hour. Rule number 2, never leave the security room unless absolutely necessary. Rule number 3, do not ignore any alarms, no matter how minor. I laughed at rule number 3. Minor alarms happen all the time, I thought. This will be easy. At 11:45 p.m., I settled into the chair in front of the monitors. The building was eerily quiet, too quiet. The hum of the computers was the only sound. I had my headphones in, playing music, glancing occasionally at the security feeds. At 12:30 a.m., the first motion alert popped up on camera 3. A flicker of movement, nothing more. Probably a stray mouse, I told myself. I didn't get up. I didn't check. At 1:03 a.m., the alert returned. The camera on the third-floor hallway showed a dark shape at the end of the corridor, almost like someone standing perfectly still. My pulse spiked. I zoomed in, but it vanished. I shook my head. I was imagining things. By 2 a.m., the lights in the building flickered. I muttered under my breath, thinking the old wiring was the problem. I checked the monitors. Everything seemed fine, until the fourth-floor cameras went black. Not flickering, not glitching, just off. I tried rebooting the system. Nothing. Static. My heart started pounding. Something wasn't right. And then I heard it. A faint noise from the fourth-floor hallway. A scraping sound, slow and deliberate. I told myself it was nothing. But rule number 3 rang in my mind. Do not ignore any alarms. I grabbed my flashlight. The metal in my hand felt heavier than it should. The elevator was broken, so I had to take the stairs. Each step groaned under my weight. The further I went, the colder it got. My breath fogged in front of me. The hallway stretched further than it should have. Flickering fluorescent lights barely illuminated the space, leaving long shadows that seemed to move on their own. At the end of the hall, I saw it. A shadow. Not human, not solid, just dark. It didn't move, just waited. I froze. My flashlight flickered. I tried to shine it on the figure. Nothing. When I blinked, it vanished. I should have gone back. I should have stayed in the security room. But I didn't. Curiosity, stupidity, call it what you want. I kept walking. By 2:45 a.m., alarms started going off from every floor. Red lights flashed, filling the security room in harsh crimson. I ran back to check the monitors. Every feed was active, empty halls. But the whispering began. I couldn't tell where it came from. Behind me, above me, outside. It was my name, my mistakes, a warning, a command. Papers started sliding across desks. Chairs moved on their own. The emergency lights flickered, shadows lengthened and twisted. Nothing looked right. Corners bent in ways that made me nauseous. I realized then this wasn't a glitch, a prank, or imagination. Breaking rule number 3 had done this. Whatever the rules were protecting me from, I had unleashed it. Time became meaningless. The clocks in the hallways spun backward, then forward. Monitors showed multiple versions of myself patrolling. I could hear whispers echoing my own thoughts. You shouldn't have come here. You shouldn't have broken the rule. I ran through the hallways, trying to find the stairs, but they weren't where they should be. Rooms I'd passed earlier now stretched endlessly. Hallways looped into themselves. Shadows followed, mimicking every move I made. The building itself seemed alive. Walls pulsed, floors tilted. The lights dimmed and brightened in patterns, almost like a heartbeat. I was no longer inside an office. I was inside something else. Something ancient and patient. By 3:15 a.m., I felt hands brush against my arms. Cold, insubstantial, yet real. I saw faces and shadows, other night shift employees, frozen in terror, pointing at me. They whispered, "Follow the rules. Do not break them." I ran. Every door I tried was locked. The alarm light strobing red. My flashlight barely worked. Shadows swirled around me, stretching, rapping, almost communicating. They weren't just watching, they were feeding on fear, on mistakes. Every floor I ran to seemed identical. Nothing was real. Every turn brought me back to the same security room, but with differences. Objects moved, papers formed strange symbols. The whispers grew louder, angry, pleading, mocking. By 3:50 a.m., the chaos was overwhelming. The lights failed completely. Alarms screamed. Shadows surged toward me. My chest burned. My legs ached. My mind raced, trying to remember the rules. Rule number 3. I had ignored the first alarm. I'd stepped into the building. I had broken the rules. I begged, whispered, promised I would follow. I felt the shadows tighten around me, suffocating. The building itself seemed to close in. And then, at the worst moment, something snapped. The alarm stopped. The lights returned. Shadows collapsed into corners. Papers fell harmlessly to the ground. I was alone. Dawn broke at 4:30 a.m. I stumbled out of the building. My uniform was torn. My hands were scratched. My mind shattered. I handed back the keys to the manager. She didn't ask why I was late. She didn't need to. The look on her face said it all. She had seen what happens when someone breaks the rules. I never returned, and I never will. I keep the laminated sheet in my drawer at home, framed and untouched. Rule number 3 sits there, underlined in red. Breaking a rule isn't just breaking a rule. It's waking something that shouldn't be woken. Something that waits in the shadows, just beyond the cameras, just out of sight, for the next person foolish enough to ignore it. And now, I know better.